That's right. I mean, it's trying to make its way down to us. I have seen it. Time to look at the first part. Hits this. Let me explain. Well, that's I will explain this here. No. Oh, Let's see, just no. Oh, no. Oh, technology and the voice. Well, they just can't do it. There's a part of that who can do it. I mean, oh, it's pretty much just pretty bad. Oh, God. It's not over. It's not. I know. Maybe more of it's not over. I know. Remember, I don't want to go away wrong. Well, maybe everyone. I want to have fun. You have to want to have it for everyone. You call that one of the power. Yeah, oh, it's just not the same. Oh, my God, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, alright, you can go out. Just make sure everybody stays. No, I'm not telling you, alright. Tomorrow everybody can go out. Well, I'm gonna be going at polls tomorrow. Then, alright, everybody can go out. Everybody can go out. Well, what about the solution? What about the I hope everything's on the call. It's called up, but you can still go on that way. Okay, let's see. Let's go to management. Oh, we didn't go what we just wanted. I said sweet and let's go. The more, no, you have the let's go. No, about the candy animals. Like, well, I didn't know, you know, it's not gonna win, no, it's not gonna win. Well, because he's again, he's supposed to win. He didn't. I think a lot of people are because he probably gets stressed out because it was. Because no, no, I know what you gotta talk to Thomas. I'm gonna talk to him. It's because it's cold. Just I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. Well, no, today. I didn't do that. Well, today. Well, I'll talk to her. Okay, she's probably no reason. All right, let him go. He was. They'll be going out to tomorrow. People are not. It's not up to him. It's up to him. You're not letting him kind of oh, finally tomorrow. All right. For some reason, if we do, if we, okay. Maybe we can maybe part of me is too cold. No, too bad. That's probably what it is. Cold in the water, everything's so cold. I don't know, maybe. Probably what it is. Too cold, all that, not cold either. That's the thing, it's too cold. It's too cold, the cold. Maybe it is. Maybe it's finally good. It's too cold now, we don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. Probably what it is, all the black eyes. Probably what. Yes, black eyes. Probably what it is, the black eyes. I'm thinking that's what it is. Well, right. There's been a lot of it over there, but maybe not much. Well, we'll be rain, we'll be snow, and all that will be gone. That's all over that. You know, that's just everything going on. No, it's the black ice. Oh, ice. I think I know there's ice. There's ice on the sidewalk. And what happened upon that? I don't know. Oh, that's another guy. So that's fine. What was it? No. It is actually. And Palm didn't smell this. I wasn't thinking of that. And why was I thinking Palm? And you know, like I said, I guess anything else. I think the Palm is really nice. Oh, that's when you was one time, it was all around the past. Oh no, I didn't have to pretend I was emphasizing cheating. About that everything is wrong. One way everything up tomorrow. Only half the time. Monkey, crazy. I think that's what it is. This is a very bomb. This is all the time. Oh, I'm well, most of it. And I pretty most. Oh, no, too. Wow. cold. I think it was all the time. So last night was and tomorrow will be over. Yeah, it's only very much. That's all it is. Calm down. Yeah, calm down. I want to be there. If we want to talk on the car. No, it's over here for the Monday because it's not the word that I don't understand. The world, it's so small, nice. Yeah, it's gonna be help. Wow, wow, this is on a class. Dang. Wow, if you're on a cross, America. Yeah, I think it's also a little bit. Yeah. Wow, cross. Oh, dang. She's wearing a cross and everything. Wow, man. Yeah. And he said the shit. Damn, dang. Wow. He's on fire, man. I'm good. Dang. 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 I gotta watch this.
That's certainly very important, and cutting the cost of living in this country. President Trump has taken historic action over the past week to do that. He actually signed a memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for American families, which took a number of actions. I can walk you through those. He also repealed many onerous Biden administration regulations. We know over the past 4 years, American households has been essentially taxed $55,000 in regulations from the previous administration. President Trump, with the swipe of his pen, rescinded those, which will ultimately put more money back in the pockets of the American people. So deregulation is a big deal. And then when it comes to energy, I mean, the president signed an executive order to declare a national energy emergency here at home, which is going to make America energy dominant. We know that energy is one of the #1 drivers of inflation. And so that's why the president wants to increase our energy supply to bring down costs for Americans. The Trump energy boom is incoming, and Americans can expect that.
Thank you. Caroline, I think some of the confusion, I think, may be here with this pause on federal funding. You've made it clear you're not stopping funds that go directly to individuals, but there certainly are lots of organizations that receive funding and then may pass along a benefit. Meals on Wheels, for one. They provide meals for over 2.2 million seniors. What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, who are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now been asked to answer this question 4 times. To individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government, you will not be impacted by this federal freeze. In fact, OMB just sent out a memo to Capitol Hill with Q&A to clarify some of the questions and the answers that all of you are asking me right now. Again, direct assistance will not be impacted. I've been asked and answered about this OMB memo. There's many other topics of the day. Jackie,
direct assistance, Caroline, if it's going to another organization and then trickling down.
Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted. Again, as I said to Peter, we will continue to provide that list as it comes to fruition, but OMB right now is focused on analyzing the federal government's spending, which is exactly what the American people elected President Trump to do.
And one question on immigration, Caroline, on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point first. They all have a criminal record.
And well, if they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yes.
Thank you. On stripping security details for figures like John Bolton, Pompeo, Brian Hook, Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and the threat from Iran is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision despite some of the comments that you had referenced, and he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in the government for the rest of their lives, and there's nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands on it. I have no updates on that.
Is there any concern that this decision might jeopardize the administration's ability to hire the best advisors for these kinds of positions in the future?
No, in fact, I've talked to the presidential personnel office who has told me directly that there is such an influx of resumes for this administration that it's incredibly overwhelming. There is no lack of talent for the Trump administration.
Reagan, would he take any responsibility if anything happened to these people? Would he feel at all that his decision was a factor in that?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. I defer you to his comments.
Caroline.
Reagan, since you're in the back row, I hear you. The back row hasn't gotten much attention in the last 4 years, so I'm happy to answer your question.
I can project. Does the president intend to permanently cut off funding to NGOs that are bringing illegal foreign nationals to the country, such as Catholic charities?
I am actually quite certain that the president signed an executive order that did just that, and I can point you to that.
One more, Caroline. President Trump issued an executive order on increased vetting for refugees in visa applications. Part of that order was considering an outright ban for countries that have deficient screening processes. Has the president considered yet which countries might fall into this category, or countries like Afghanistan or Syria under consideration for a full ban?
Yeah, so the president signed an executive order to streamline the vetting for visa applicants and for illegal immigrants in this country who are coming, of course, from other nations. It also directed the Secretary of State to review the process and make sure that other countries around the world are being completely transparent with our nation and the individuals that they are sending here. And so the Secretary of State has been directed to report back to the president. I haven't seen that report yet. We've only been here for a few days.
One, on the freeze in federal funding, who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And on what happened on Friday night, the administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30-day legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
So you're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court.
And
yes.
Did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So yes. Yes.
Caroline.
Caroline? Thank you. Congrats on your first day behind the podium.
Thank you.
President Trump ended funding for UNRWA and also designated the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
That's right.
Both were decisions that the previous administration had reversed. So here's my question. Will there be an investigation into who gave the previous administration this terrible advice?
Well, that's a very good point. I haven't heard discussions about such an investigation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea considering that the Houthis certainly are terrorists. They have launched attacks on U.S. naval ships across this world, and so I think it was a very wise move by this administration to redesignate them as a terrorist group, because they are, and I think it was a foolish decision by the previous administration to do so. As for an investigation, I'm not sure about that, but it's not a bad idea. Josh.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Can you give us an update on the president's plans for his tariff agenda? He spoke a lot about this yesterday, and there's a couple of dates coming up that he's spoken to. Number one, February 1st, he's alluded to both the potential tariffs from Canada and Mexico, but also China to take effect on those days. What's he thinking about that? Should those countries expect that on the
Again,
first?
he was asked and answered this question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press, and he said that the February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
The China 10% tariff that he also used about last Tuesday going into effect on the same day.
Yeah, the president has said that he is very much still considering that for February 1st.
Separately, yesterday he talked also about sectoral tariffs on, for instance, pharmaceuticals as well as semiconductor computer chips. He talked about steel, aluminum, and copper. What's the timeline on those? Is that a similar sort of coming days thing?
Yeah, so when the president talked about that in his speech yesterday, that actually wasn't a new announcement. That was within a presidential memorandum that he signed in one of the first days here in the White House on his America First trade agenda. So there's more details on those tariffs in there. As far as a date, I don't have a specific date to read out to you, but the president is committed to implementing tariffs effectively, just like he did in his first term.
Finally, he also was asked on the plane when he gaggled about the potential for a universal tariff. He was asked maybe about 2.5%. There was a report about that. He said he wanted much bigger than that. Should we understand that these tariffs would add up? You know, in other words, you might have country-specific tariffs like Canada, Mexico, China. You might have sectoral tariffs like on pharmaceuticals, as well as a potential universal tariff on top of that. Do these stack on one or the other, or would one sort of take precedence over another?
All I can point you to is what the president has said on this front. The February 1st date for Canada and Mexico, also the China tariff that he has discussed. He rejected the 2.5% tariff. He said that was a little bit too low. He wants it to be higher. I'll leave it to him to make any decisions on that front.
What the Mexicans and Canadians have done so far, do you have any comment on whether that has met the bar and what he wants to see on fentanyl? Thank you.
I won't get ahead of the president again on advocating to foreign nations on what they should or shouldn't do to get away from these tariffs. The president has made it very clear, again, that he expects every nation around this world to cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens, and the president has also put out specific statements in terms of Canada and Mexico when it comes to what he expects in terms of border security. We have seen a historic level of cooperation from Mexico, but again, as far as I'm still tracking, and that was last night talking to the president directly, February 1st is still on the books. Phil.
Thank you, Caroline. Quick programming note and then a question on taxes. Well, in terms of programming, should we expect to see you here every day? How frequently will these press briefings be?
It is a good question, April. So look, the president, as you know, is incredibly accessible. First day here, he wanted all of you in the Oval Office. You got a 60-minute press conference with the leader of the free world while he was simultaneously signing executive orders. I may add that's pretty impressive. I don't think the previous office holder would be able to pull such a thing off. So look, the president is the best spokesperson that this White House has, and I can assure you that you will be hearing from both him and me as much as possible.
And then a question about tax cuts. You know, the president has promised to extend the tax cuts from the previous term. I'm curious, you know, does the president support corresponding spending cuts, as some Republicans have called for in Congress? And will the new Treasury Secretary be leading those negotiations with the Hill, as Mnuchin did during the first administration?
The president is committed to both tax cuts and spending cuts. And he has a great team negotiating on his behalf, but there's no better negotiator than Donald Trump, and I'm sure he'll be involved in this reconciliation process as it moves forward.
Glad you like the split screen so much.
The announcement that you made last night on the Iron Dome, it said the president had directed that the United States will build this Iron Dome.
Yeah.
When you read into the executive order, it seemed short of that. It asked for a series of studies and reports back. Can you tell us whether the president has directed this? And if he is as concerned on this issue, why the suspensions that we saw listed by OMB included so many different nuclear programs, non-proliferation programs, programs to blend down nuclear weapons, and so forth.
First of all, when it comes to the Iron Dome, the executive order directed the implementation of an Iron Dome. It also, as you said, kind of directed research and studies to see if or how the United States can go about doing this, particularly the Department of Defense. When it comes to the other question that you asked about those specific programs, again, I would say this is not a ban. This is a temporary pause and a freeze to ensure that all of the money going out from Washington, D.C. is in line with the president's agenda, and as the Office of Management and Budget has updates on what will be kick-started once again, I will provide those to you.
Just clarify for a sec what you were saying on Medicaid. It wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. As you know, in the first week that the president was in office, signed an executive order as it relates to birthright citizenship, trying to eliminate that. Now, 22 state attorney generals have said that this is.
Imagine how their comment section would go.
Judge has just agreed with their argument. What's the administration's argument for doing away with birthright citizenship?
I mean, that's the problem.
You know, they're have that legal opinion, but it is in disagreement with the legal opinion of this administration.
Snuff out the meetings.
This
they don't like
administration
us,
believes
they
that
don't like
birthright
people that
citizenship
talk
is
about us.
unconstitutional.
And I really believe it has a large deal to do with us. I really do.
Illegal immigrants who come to this country and have a child are not subject to the laws of this jurisdiction. That's the opinion of this administration. We have already appealed the lawsuit that was filed against this administration, and we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, because President Trump believes that this is a necessary step to secure our nation's borders and protect our homeland.
On foreign policy, Caroline, on foreign policy, if I may, the president's commitment to the NATO Defense Alliance, is it as strong as the prior administration? Is it the same as when he served as president in his first term in office?
As long as NATO pays their fair share, and President Trump has called on NATO allies to increase their defense spending to 5%. You actually saw the head of NATO at Davos last week on Bloomberg television saying that President Trump is right, and if Europe wants to keep itself safe, they should increase their defense spending. I would just add that there was no greater ally to our European allies than President Trump in his first term. The world for all nations in Europe, and of course here at home, was much safer because of President Trump's peace through strength diplomatic approach.
Thank you, Caroline, and it's great to finally be called on as well in the briefing room. I appreciate that. Of course, we know President Trump just got back from North Carolina and California meeting with victims of natural disasters. There's the 2-year anniversary of the East Palestine, Ohio toxic train derailment. Does the president have any plans to go visit the victims of that toxic spill, or just visit in general?
No plans that I can read out for you here. If that changes, I will certainly keep you posted. What I can tell you is that President Trump still talks about his visit to East Palestine, Ohio. That was one of the turning points, I would say, in the previous election campaign, where Americans were reminded that President Trump is a man of the people, and he, as a candidate, visited that town that was just derailed by the train derailment, no pun intended, and he offered support and hope, just like I saw the president do this past week. It was a purposeful decision by this president on his first domestic trip to go to North Carolina and to California to visit with Americans who were impacted by Hurricane Helene and also by the deadly fires. A red state and a blue state, both of which feel forgotten by the previous administration and the federal government. That is now ended under President Trump. He will continue to put Americans first, whether they're in East Palestine, in Pacific Palisades, or in North Carolina.
Thank you, Caroline. On California, could you please clarify what the military did with the water last night, as referenced in the president's social post?
The water has been turned back on in California, and this comes just days after President Trump visited Pacific Palisades, and as you all saw, applied tremendous pressure on state and local officials in Pacific Palisades, including Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, to turn on the water and to direct that water to places in the south and in the middle of the state that have been incredibly dry, which has led to the expansion, the rapid expansion of these fires.
So could you clarify what the military's role was, where the water came from, and how it got there?
Again, the Army Corps of Engineers has been on the ground in California to respond to the devastation from these wildfires, and I would point out that just days after President Trump visited the devastation from these fires, the water was turned on. That is because of the pressure campaign he put on state and local officials there who clearly lack all common sense. And I will never forget being at that roundtable with the president last week and hearing the frustration in the voices of Pacific Palisades residents who feel as though their government has just gone insane. Before President Trump showed up on the scene, Karen Bass was telling private property owners that they would have to wait 18 months to access their private property. So this administration, the president and his team that's on the ground in California, Rick Grinnell, who he has designated to oversee this great crisis, will continue to put pressure on Karen Bass and state and local officials to allow residents to access their properties. This is a huge part of it. These residents want to take part in their own clearing out of their properties. They should be able to do that. It's the United States of America. What happened to our freedom? Clearly it's gone in California, but not anymore under President Trump. April.
Caroline, welcome to the briefing room.
Thank you.
Several questions. One on the pause. Will minority-serving institutions, preferably colleges and universities, have those monies held back temporarily at this moment?
Again, I have not seen the entire list because this memo was just sent out. So I will provide you all with updates as we receive them, okay?
Also, secondly, when it comes to immigration, there is this southern border focus. What happens to those who overstayed their visas? That is part of the broken immigration system. In 2023, there was a report by the Biden administration, the Homeland Security Department, that said overstays of visas were 3 times more than usual. Will there be a focus on the overstays for visas as well?
If an individual is overstaying their visa, they are therefore an illegal immigrant residing in this country, and they are subject to deportation.
And also, lastly, as we're dealing with anti-DEI, anti-woke efforts, we understand this administration is thinking about celebrating Black History Month. Have you got any word on that? Anything that you can offer to us?
As far as I know, this White House certainly still intends to celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate American history and the contributions that all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed, have made to our great country, and America is back. Christian Daytop.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora.
I'll take them. And I will use them.
Saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing to doing that in the days ahead.
All right, so we were just listening there to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but they're just
They've been doing these meetings for a long, long time, ladies and gentlemen. Adopt everything they're doing here and do it there. In the middle of little town.
Secretary for President Trump's brand new administration, and taking on several topics, several questions from many of those reporters there.
Your birthday, Pecan?
On the ground.
Oh, man.
But thank you all for joining us here on this Tuesday at Live Now from Fox. My name is Carl Lahada, and I'll be with you now for the next couple of hours or so as we continue to guide you through some of the day's top stories. Also showcase a lot of these live events from around the country and around the world. We do want to step away for a brief commercial break, but we have a few things here on deck that we're going to bring up very shortly. This first one, a Live Now look there in Washington, D.C. We are expecting for some comments from Democratic Senate leaders set to get started momentarily, about 2 p.m. Eastern time. So in about 7 minutes or so. And then we also have this, a vantage point from down in South Florida, Coral Gables to be exact. We're expecting an update. As you saw, we brought some breaking news earlier on today discussing smuggling and several migrants who were tracked down and found in South Florida. But we're working to get some more of those details. Of course, you can see some microphones set up there. So we're hoping to bring you many more of those top stories. A lot of the focus continues to be with immigration, several of these border policies that President Trump has already enacted. So we are stepping away for that quick commercial break, but we'll continue.
Taco Tuesday and happy birthday.
First time watcher Otis.
Happy Taco Tuesday and happy birthday. Happy Taco Tuesday and happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. They're absolutely a shell of themselves. There is what it is. It is what it is. We'll be live tonight, guys. I mean, I hate to say, I don't want to really say that that was a good show, but I mean, it is what it is, right? What can we do? The fact that Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler and 3-Inch Shrimp saved the day. Shout out to Robot Lady. It was good to see her for the first time. I like seeing Robot Lady. I hate to make her come in more often, but you know, it might be a good thing. You know what I mean? It might be a good thing to see her a little more.
Wow, Namaria. That must have been a trip. I'm too far away to feel the heat here. I'm like a mile and a half away or something from those fissures or from the vents. But probably if I was, you know, like a half a mile away, I could probably feel the heat. Aloha. Yeah, however it would work, I'll take it. Because definitely spending money investing in this project and all the live stream productions, and it's going to be a little bit before I make any money from it outside of the generous donations.
You should come on. No. Trying a little bit, they see the black eyes. No, that's black eyes. Go. Price is fine, we're getting $6, almost $7.
Yeah, Cindy. Definitely the first goal on monetization is to pay for expenses and wear and tear on equipment. Each time I come out here, it's about 3.5 hours of driving round trip. Plus the expenses for the data to do the streaming, as well as the Switcher Studio subscription in order to do this multicam switching live stream. It all comes with a monthly fee. So hopefully eventually I'll be able to break even and then start kind of keeping it rolling and moving it along, and maybe it'll become an actual job that I can do and get paid for. That would be that's the dream. As the Pahalik quake, is it reached? Let's see.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and I didn't even get into getting new equipment. There's so many things I would get.
What's this? She's right up in the Get that selfie cam back up. I love hearing visitors, seeing the
fountains for the first time and losing their minds, kind of like I did last night. And every time. Still got over 100 people on the live stream. Thanks again, everyone. I'm kind of just running it till I lose battery power, or until we lose lava. Oh, is that like a big... It's like there's a big column, like it's a lava, like a gas NATO. Let's see if I can zoom out. See that. Actually, I probably can't on this camera. Yeah. I'm just waiting for it to shut off.
Where you got your lunch?
Like 1 something last night.
Yeah, I woke up about 1. I'm just gonna fall back to sleep. Should have
Yeah. Yeah, I've been out here for every episode of this eruption, all 7. No, just for myself. Yeah, I'm trying to make it my job. Anyway, I'm doing.
This year doesn't hurt.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing live streams on YouTube, so I'm getting the YouTube thing going. Yeah, you gotta be dedicated. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It was like around 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. It seemed to me was the biggest fountains, the most action. Yeah, I saw pieces go way up there. Yeah. Because they don't glow as much. Yeah. Thanks. Are we seeing an increase in activity? It's hard for me to tell. I do have business cards. I have been handing them out. But it's got the QR code for my website on it, but not the YouTube channel. One downside of sitting up on the side of the path. It sounds like whenever people walk by, it sounds like I'm eating cereal into the microphone. the split screen before. Alright, that's not too bad. The top angle is actually from my iPhone. Yeah, the north vent does seem to be going pretty good. Yeah, aloha. You're very welcome, and I feel very grateful to be able to be here and to see this with my own eyeballs, and I'm extremely stoked to be able to bring you guys the view, share it with the world. Yeah, the iPhone is pretty good. It's a 14 Pro, and I think that's the 3x telephoto on the iPhone. Anything wider, or anything wide basically is okay on the iPhone. If you want to zoom in a lot, you need a better lens. That's so cool that we've increased volume and fountain height right at a time that I thought it might be stopping. Yeah, doing it. Yeah, it's not the USGS one, but. I think everyone thinks that I'm on the USGS live stream. Yeah, Lisa brought a couple snacks. I ate them already. Got a few more in the car. How's this guy? You lost all your cameras?